Hello, welcome back to another pest control video. I mentioned in my alocasia collection video that I found a pretty hefty infestation of spider mites on my alocasia michilotziana, but also my ficus tineke that's in my office has a pretty significant infestation of spider mites. I also last night found spider mites on my alocasia watsoniana lightning that's in my Millsbo tall cabinet, but that's a conversation for a different day. Today we're just gonna focus on those two plants, and more importantly, we are trying out beneficial bugs again. Several of you here on YouTube and on Instagram mentioned you'd had issues or heard of issues with Nature's Good Guys, which is who I used last time. And there were a variety of other companies that were recommended. One of those was Evergreen, so I decided to try them out. I will start by saying that I placed the order on Tuesday night, and today is Friday and they are here. So we're already to a much better start. Also, please don't mind the mess. I'm in the middle of another project here with this console table. You'll see that in a different video as I finish setting all of that up. So what I ordered this time from Evergreen were the rapid release, so the ones that are alive and ready to go. And then I ordered some sachets just because my tineke is fairly large and bushy with lots of leaves. And then my michilotziana that's in the kitchen just keeps getting them kind of frequently, like, I don't know, every other month or so. So I figured I would just place some of the sachets on that one and the tineke so that hopefully it can eradicate the whole infestation. And then I also placed additional sachets that I figured I would put on some of my other alocasias here, like by the window, or that are gonna go in this console table, just to try to keep them at bay. I'm not a fan of this, but the sachets were really inexpensive. I wanna say they were like 75 cents each or something. I did have to pay for overnight shipping again, that was like $38.95, so still really expensive shipping, but I mean, they're already here 2 days later, so I feel much better about that. This is the box they arrived in. Let's open it together. We'll read all the instructions in case anything is different from my previous research of the other company of how I'm supposed to release them and everything. I haven't rinsed the plants or anything either because I wasn't sure, and I didn't really, well, to be fair, I didn't dig for the information of application. So I figured that just once we open the box, it should come with instructions and then we can proceed accordingly. Okay, so opening the box, I have my invoice with everything that I ordered. These were a little tricky because you don't, like, I feel like in Nature's Good Guys, I could say like spider mites and it was basically like sachets or fast release. I didn't really know, and not that they didn't list them, but here, I don't know. It was just a little different. Like it lists the names of these bugs and how I ordered them. But basically I ordered 15 sachets and there's 200. Actually, this looks weird. I don't know. Maybe, I feel like I did order 15 sachets and I believe that there's 200 bugs in each sachet, and those are the slow release. And then I ordered 2 different kinds of the fast release, or like the ones that are, you know, alive and get to work right away. And there is 5,000 in one of the vials and 2,000 in the other vial. And I can list the prices for everything in my total. It was not cheap, but I don't know. I already feel better about, I could be wrong, but I just feel like it's been a better experience thus far. Okay. So this is what it looks like. There's this, then there is this, and this is where they are at, I assume. More paper. Okay, so I think these are the sachets. Yeah, I see them. I hope they come with instructions. Yeah, so these are the two kinds of sachets I ordered. Or is this all the same kind? I don't know. I don't know. But this is one. Hunter, please get out. This feels like more sachets. Oh no, this is an ice pack. This is a vial. Hunter, please back. And then here is the other vial. And then I guess that was everything. I think the sachets are pretty self-explanatory. You just put them on the plant. But then these actually do not come with directions. Okay. Let me go on their website and see. They did send me a couple emails, so actually I wonder if one of those are here. I found it easier to just call the number that they gave me in case I had any questions. They answered right away, and it's basically the same directions to release them. I'm also wondering, I know I ordered two vials of the same thing, but maybe it's just because I wanted more? I don't know. Anyway, but these are one type of thing, and then the sachets, I got two different kinds of things. And I believe, again, I'll list everything down because I don't even know. But she basically said you rotate the bottle, rotate it in your hands a little bit so it's room temperature, it shouldn't be cold, and you can choose to either rinse off the plant or not. I'm gonna go ahead, and then she said you just apply them directly on the leaves. I do still have some of those boxes from Nature Good Guys. I'm gonna do some of that because I feel like I can sprinkle them on the top of the leaves, but they're probably just gonna fall down. So yeah, I'll probably just add them to those boxes and then place them all around. So let's go rinse the ficus tineke first. I just finished rinsing the plants. I cleaned the countertop really good, the kitchen island. I cleaned this corner area. I do need to water the monstera that was right next to the ficus tineke. So once the tineke is out of the shower, I will rinse the monstera, and then I'm gonna release the bugs accordingly in the little boxes that I had left. And I'm gonna place the sachets on those plants as well as a couple of others. I will show you where they're all placed, and then I guess we'll check back in about a week or so and see how it's going. Also, if I see any of these beneficials moving around, I'll insert the footage also. And yeah, I would say in about a week or so, we should have a pretty good idea as to how they're working. I think I ordered way too many predatory mites, the rapid release ones, or the ones that are alive and ready to go. I was really just pouring large amounts at the end to try to finish both the vials. So altogether, one vial had 5,000 and the other had 2,000, so there were 7,000 of them. And I ended up really just using them all over my collection. So yeah, they're everywhere, and I also made a big mess. I really don't understand how they want you to just like pour them on the leaves, because lots of the leaves are facing up, or like alocasias are facing down. More of those like release boxes I think would have been beneficial, but I didn't even think about it. I just didn't think I was gonna have so much, honestly. I made a giant mess, as I said, but I did end up using them all, and I did find spider mites again on my alocasia Jacqueline, and I was out of the little release boxes, so I just placed them right on the leaf as best as I could, and then just a little bit on top of the pond, and I hope they make their way through. And then I just distributed the sachets kind of the same all over my plant collection, particularly on those that tend to be spider mite magnets, in addition to obviously the michilotziana and the ficus tineke that had the pretty bad infestation. So I think, yeah, we'll check in about a week and let's see how it's going. It's Thursday, August 22nd, and I'm finally back to give an update and my final thoughts on the second round of predatory mites from Evergreen. My intention when I started documenting this was that I would be able to take like daily updates or even weekly updates and kind of see what was going on, but that's just, there wasn't anything that I could visually see to show you. So days turned into weeks and weeks, and finally here I am. I do have some updates, some interesting findings, and I will share all of that with you now. To recap a little bit, I released the fast release predatory mites, the ones that are supposed to arrive alive and ready to go, and then the sachets that are slow release, and I believe those are meant to last 4 to 6 weeks. So initially when I released the fast release ones, the ones that are supposed to be, you're supposed to be able to see them right away, I couldn't see them off of the bat, but then immediately I did see them, and within a few seconds or minutes they were attacking all of, you know, the mite infestation, or like where the webbing was before I rinsed them. I could see them a lot and very well on my ficus tineke, and I was happy to see the action happening. And ever since, that ficus has been spider mite free, so really happy with that. I will note that I never saw the fast release mites on my michilotziana in the kitchen the way that I saw them on my tineke here in the office, and I want to say I released about the same amount, or at least it seemed to be the same amount, so I don't know. But I will say that my michilotziana has been spider mite free ever since. Beyond the first 3 days, I didn't see any other movement in any of my plants, so I'm not really sure what that means. I never caught any of them coming out of the sachets or hanging out on the little sachet paper hook, anything like that. What I did find was when I freshly watered some of the alocasias in my Millsbow wide cabinet, and then the leaves, you know, kind of drip that extra glutation minerals from the leaves, I did notice some of them fall, and they were already dead, onto the bottom surface of the cabinet. But that's pretty much it. I checked every plant I added a sachet to a lot with a microscope, multiple times a day, different times in the day, for at least the first 4 weeks, and I didn't see anything. I don't know, it could very well happen that those mites never hatched, or maybe I just never saw them. I don't know, it's hard to say. With that said, for the most part, the predatory mites, whether it was only the fast release ones or the slow release in the sachet, did do their job on most of the plants, or I mean maybe some of the plants. I'm not really sure what that answer is. they completely eradicated them on the tineke, on the michilotziana, on several of the alocasias that I had over here by my window, on my alocasia Jacqueline that had been quarantined and had gotten spider mites again. Or like even several in this cabinet. I haven't seen any in the Mills Bowl Tall, but I hadn't really seen them in there before either. But some plants in the Mills Bow Wide, along with my variegated Friedrich elbow that used to sit on top of my desk, it's not there anymore, those continued to have spider mites. And I am really confused about that, in particular with the one on my desk, because she got the fast release ones and the sachet, but it didn't seem to matter. So I noticed them a couple of times actually throughout the weeks, that the spider mites, they initially were away for probably like a week-ish or two, and then they started coming back a little, and it was like the older leaves, so I chopped the leaf, and you know you're not supposed to treat with any insecticidal or even rinse the leaves when you have the predatory mites because you can knock them off. So I kept just kind of waiting, but the infestation was progressively getting larger and larger until I decided I was just going to chop that plant all the way back and then just treat the stump that was left and the pot it was in, and clean the area really well. I moved it away from there, like just in case, and it's currently in rehab recovering. I had done the same kind of thing inside the cabinet where I had done the fast release and a couple of sachets, and where I kept seeing the spider mites were on the variegated Friedrich elbow. I believe on 2 of them. I have 3 in there, and then also on the Anthurium clary. For sure I saw them there, and then eventually they moved on to my alocasia pink black velvet and my variegated ninja, and when I saw that happen, I was like, okay, enough. Like, I am not gonna wait around anymore, and I'm going to take matters into my own hand. At that point, I was also starting to see what I thought were the beneficial mites kind of crawling on the surface of the bottom of the cabinet, falling again from the leaves. So I used a microscope. I didn't want to like post it anywhere because I didn't want to start freaking out thinking that maybe there was something else in there or what have you, but I decided like I'm just enough. I've done 2 rounds of beneficial, well technically 3 rounds of beneficial mites in there, with the first round of the fast release and then the second round of the fast release plus the sachets, and I'm still seeing spider mites, so it's time to bring in the big guys. I reached out to a friend, a grower, and I asked what they use for pests, and he recommended a miticide and insecticide. It's a pesticide, so it is harmful not only to pests but to people, pets, etc. So you do have to be very careful when you use it. And that's what I ended up treating them with. So what I did was I got everything out of the cabinet. I took them all into the shower, gave them a good thorough rinse with high pressure wash or high pressure water, and then I treated them. And I am so far on, I'm coming up on the 3rd week. I decided I would treat them weekly for 4 weeks just to make sure that any and everything is completely gone out of there. I will say, if you choose to go this route, be very, very careful. Make sure that you read all directions, all precautions. You know, this stuff isn't supposed to touch your skin. Wear kind of protective gear, gloves. I wore a mask. It actually even called for you to wear goggles because, you know, could be really bad if it gets in your eyes. I used a pump sprayer, which actually made it easy, and it wasn't messy at all, but I was very cautious not to get any on any of me. So after I sprayed them down the first time and watered them, and you know, they were freshly watered in there, I did start to see a lot of the dead bugs again on the bottom surface of the cabinet, which I didn't bother to check if it was the beneficials, something else, or whatever the case, or spider mites, but I cleaned all of that out. I haven't seen any other pests on there since, but it is also important to keep up for at least 4 weeks with treatment because pests can become resistant to treatment. It's kind of like an antibiotic. So you want to make sure you run its course so that you really do eradicate and eliminate all of them and they don't build some kind of immunity to it, and then next time you go to use it, it's not going to work. Using this pesticide was kind of last resort for me, and even though I didn't try Perfect Plantista first, which I know would have worked, it was more so of I'm not exactly sure what's going on in there, so I just want to make sure that I'm tackling any and every living thing other than a plant that's in there. So now that I've tried this a couple times, I do feel better speaking about whether I think this is worth it and whether I would recommend it or not. I've also spoken to other friends that have tried them before, and multiple of them said that they have used them many times with a variety of results every time, which is kind of the experience that I had the second time, and I feel like the second time with Evergreen was a more realistic expectation of what it's like to use predatory mites to combat pests. And this is also only speaking in regards to spider mites. It could obviously be very different in regards to other pests. I still stand by the fact that I very much get the heebie-jeebies knowing that there's bugs. I mean, I know that there's other bugs, but won't get into that. But willingly like releasing these bugs that even though they're teeny tiny, you can see them, and it just, yeah, that still really gives me the heebie-jeebies. I don't like the way the little release boxes look. I don't like the way the sachets look. You can get creative and hide them, but aesthetically speaking and even superficially speaking, I'm not a fan of those things. Now, as far as like how, like, is it worth it, like the efficacy of it? I mean, yes and no. I guess it just depends on what the plant is, and I don't know, who knows what else, like how hungry the predatory mites are. I don't know. It certainly worked on my ficus. It worked on a lot of the plants I used it. My michilotziana and my ficus tineke that I was having the big problem with worked wonders. They are spider mite free, have been ever since. They look great, really healthy, growing, everything's great. The fact that I didn't have great results in my cabinet or with my variegated Friedic that was on my desk is a bit annoying, to say the least, when I also put in just as much effort and yeah, just did the same thing as I did with the other plants to those two. So it's kind of like if I ended up having, obviously I wouldn't use the pesticide for all my plants. I would have just treated them with Perfect Plantista, and then that would have taken care of the problem. So this just seemed like trying the predatory mites really drug out the end result because it didn't work on all of the plants, if that makes sense. I feel like I'm rambling. Maybe it's not making a ton of sense, but I guess it's a little annoying. I feel like if I would have just used Perfect Plantista from the start, I would have gotten rid of them in a week, whereas this drug on for several weeks trying to wait for the predatory mites to work, and ultimately, for whatever reason, they didn't do their job in certain areas or on certain plants at least. With that said, I do think that I would try predatory mites again. However, I think that if I was going to do this again for spider mites in particular, I would do the fast release, the ones that arrive ready to go, and wait however long their lifespan is, which I need to confirm on, I'm not sure. And then after that, do my trusted treatment of Perfect Plantista to make sure that I'm eradicating whatever they may have left over. And then I feel like that's way more efficient than the sachets that may or may not be effective. I really can't say if the sachets were or weren't effective, because just because I didn't see them doesn't mean that they weren't released from there. And then again, on the plants that continue to have spider mites also had the fast release. So it's really hard to say, but I feel like my strategy going forward, should I need to, it would be to order the fast release and then wait whatever period of time those are typically alive for, whatever their lifespan is, or maybe even a week, I don't know if it's longer than that, and then go with my Perfect Plantista trusted method. I can't remember if I mentioned this at the beginning or not, but I had a way better experience with the Evergreen beneficials than I did with my first order. So I would definitely recommend Evergreen again. I would try them again if I was using them. And I'm even sure if I would have reached out at however amount of time, I would need to double check what that is and say that I wasn't noticing movement with the sachets or something, they would have sent me a new order or something. But I didn't do that because I didn't look into it and I just wasn't sure. Well, I hope this was helpful if you are thinking about or considering or just curious about predatory mites for pests. I will link the predatory mites I used as well as my trusted spider mite treatment down below if you're interested. Let me know how pest season is going for you because I feel like spider mites were out with a vengeance this summer. I really appreciate you watching. I hope you enjoyed this video. I hope you'll interact with it. Let me know what you thought, and I will see you very soon. Bye.